Ryan, thanks for joining us as always. About 2 weeks on now from playoff semi-final defeat. How are you feeling currently? Is the disappointment still there for you?
No, I think we're slowly moving on from that. It obviously was a difficult day. A few days after that, naturally it takes some getting over. There's an element of grief with it. I think really the way it was snatched away from us. 15 months of work taken away in a breath really. Unfortunately on the day we weren't good enough and Carlisle deserved to win and they've gone to Wembley and done the job. It probably should have been us but it wasn't. And really we've got to use that now as our motivation for next season. It certainly sharpens the focus because you don't want to feel that pain again really. It was a tough one to take and I think it was a new experience for a lot of people.
That was what I was going to ask next. I think one main takeout from the game afterwards with Mark and a lot of the players was the disappointment and how that fuels you for the coming campaign. And I think it was Sam Stubbs said that he didn't want to feel that ever again. That was the lowest point in his footballing career so far. I guess that transcends throughout the club, doesn't it? And experiencing that makes you hungry.
Yeah, there was many emotions. Obviously in the week leading up to the game, every club has to submit its plans for Wembley and what that would look like and who would sit where and how many tickets you would like to have. And you feel like you're tempting fate. It's a very uncomfortable thing to have to do, but you have to do it. And the overriding emotion for me was that we'd planned and hoped to be able to take every single member of our staff and everyone who's worked for the club and volunteered for it down to Wembley and give them a day out that they probably deserve after 4 or 5 years of, shall we say, difficulties on and off the pitch. And we just felt it would have been wonderful. So that hurt quite a lot, if I'm honest. That was pretty tough to take on a personal level because you're not able to give people that, people such as yourself that experience. But yeah, Sam's probably right. You don't want to feel that again. We were 7 points from the automatics. We blew 7 points in matches this season, no doubt. I'm sure we blew many more. And I guess we have to ensure that we fix up the areas that we were short in. There are some areas we're well aware of statistically and in terms of personnel. And we'll shape that up and we'll go at it again next season.
Looking ahead in terms of the business that we've got done so far, significant piece of news last weekend, Andy Cook tied down to a new 3-year contract. How significant was that and how pleased were you after not just last season but the 2.5 years he's had here already at the club to have tied him down to that length and to be having him with us again going into next season? I
think Cookie's done a great job since he came in. He came in January 21. We were basically in the relegation zone. I think we might have just come out of it at that point. I met a man there who was very frustrated with where his career was at, but he had a huge point to prove, and we've seen what he can do to his fellow former employers, if you like. And he came in, scored 9 goals in 8 starts, had a huge hand in us staying in this division. People may forget, but that was a critical point for the football club in the recent history. He did a job. He started a job the season after, got injured, probably came back too early. And again, I was met by another very hugely determined Andy Cook in the summer. And what he's done has been unbelievable. If he carries on with the sort of 1 goal in every 2 games record that he has, it's going to be one heck of a total by the end of the 3rd year and so on. But we're delighted to have him tied down. Obviously, there's a huge amount of interest in Andy's services. We made a decision in the winter not to enter any kind of contract negotiations with our players. We wanted to focus on the task at hand. The bulk of the squad was signed, and we were comfortable with that. And we were very respectful with the players throughout on that, and they knew that. And nothing really changed at any point. And we got to the end of the season, and we had conversations with Andy and his representatives, Rob Woods, and I'm pretty happy with the conversations we had. We're on the same page. Andy's happy as a Bradford City player, and he'll enter a 5th season with us by the time he finishes.
There's offers on the table for other players as well and no new faces in the building as yet, but I think again it promises to be another busy summer with transfers, ins and outs and stuff like that. What can you tell us about how we expect to look come pre-season and what the summer consists of on a transfer front?
It'll be relatively busy. It'll be different. We have a core that we didn't have. We're recruiting from a much stronger position in terms of where we finished in the table and in terms of what we already have in the building and the fact that our manager's got a year under his belt, a full season. And so has our recruitment team, for that matter. So the players we've been watching for, say, over a year now and are now in the viewpoint of being able to sign. I think last summer was trickier. You'd just come off a 15th and a 14th place finish with 58 points in 2 seasons. So when you are selling the dream or explaining where we're going to a player. It's somewhat difficult because you can't really justify that with any facts. And equally, we didn't have a back four, a midfield, or any strikers on the books really of much note. So we were quite low on numbers last summer, and I feel we have a really strong spine already in the building to work from. Right down the middle of the pitch, we've got everything we need really already, and it's a case of building on the back of that, and that work's already underway. As we sit here now, there are 2 new signings pretty much in the pocket done. Pending them coming back from their own holidays and their breaks and final meetings and medicals and whatnot, but that will take place in early June, and I think by the next time, by the middle of June, we'll certainly have 2 or 3 new faces through the door. I'd be surprised if not, and at that point you'll start to see then the look of the squad we're building, which will be a little bit leaner and meaner, if I'm honest, in terms of numbers. We were quite heavy on numbers last season as well. We're going to make that a little bit different this year, and just to create a group where if we want to slide in and out of different formations, we can do it a little bit more easily in terms of the people we've got in the building. And then, of course, the loan market, which will really rev up towards the end of, the middle and end of July, really, where there will be some weight. But, if the likes of Scott Banks and Tyreek Wright were anything to note this season, they're worth waiting for. You have to wait for the best loan players, and we'll certainly do that. But we have our eyes on them. We know who we want. And I'm sure the guys in the recruitment department will get them over the line.
You talk about having that core already there, something that perhaps we've maybe not in previous years at this stage. And you've mentioned the word progress before. And yes, while on the pitch, the season didn't end how we wanted it to, I think it's probably important to add perspective and look at how things have been in the past. Do you think we're on the right track in that sense with the progress we've made over the past 12 months?
Well, I mean, I can't talk about the past beyond 2018 because I wasn't here and I'm not prepared to, but there was a key point of pre-2018. They had one manager for a number of years who built a model and built a structure and worked towards it repeatedly and continually improved their league finish of this football club to the point where they had 1 foot in the Championship. It does feel slightly exhausting to have to do that again, but we are in a positive position. Our manager is now about to commence his 2nd full season in charge of Bradford City. I don't think it's been a very long time since anyone's been able to sit there and say that about the football club for many reasons, and that's a great point. You are right, we have some excellent talent in the building that other teams would like to sign from us, that we are hoping to keep all of here in terms of the core and the spine of the squad. And like I said, we're recruiting from a stronger position. The players we're talking to who are from higher leagues and some are from lower leagues of great interest to us are looking at us. They've watched the semi-finals. They knew how close we were to League One, and they also knew how far away we were and how they can make that difference. It doesn't seem quite the mountain to climb for new players coming in. And equally, when we start pre-season in what is only a matter of 4 weeks, I think, you're going to have a manager, an assistant, a staff, and a significant amount of players who all know each other very well, know each other's abilities and what we can get out of each other, and know what we expect. And the standards are already there, so we're not reinventing ourselves this summer or restarting. And for once, the only thing that's been completely torn up and started again is the pitch outside, which we're happy with, and that's a big point of difference for us.
And off the pitch as well, it seems year on year really for the past few years since you've taken the job on, there has been progress there off the field every time we've kind of got to this stage. How do you assess the last 12 months in terms of things like commercial activity, fan engagement, staffing and other off-field operations? There seems to be a lot going on constantly really.
Yeah, and I think that's why I feel the most frustration for our lack of trip to Wembley at the very least, because there was staff that deserved that moment. That's not down to me, that's down to the people I have around. We've got some unreal staff at the football club who have delivered time and time again. The supporters have played a huge part in giving us additional revenues, and revenue like no other club in this division can generate in its ticketing areas. But off the field, we have to match that up commercially, and in terms of new products and things we're trying, overseas training camps, where can we grow, where can we sweat the asset further in the 4th division? That's very difficult to do. Our operational turnover was up last year by 40% on the previous year. That's huge for this club. It will be up again at the end of this financial year, and we'll tip over 8.1, 8.2 million in turnover, which I don't believe has been done in the club's history in the fourth or third division. So the growth's there, which enables us obviously to spend more on the pitch and become more competitive. You know, we're a League One club in waiting. We have to get there because that will take the lid off and give us further revenue to drive into the squad. And there's nothing stopping us following the trajectory of other clubs through the divisions. We just have to get to League One first. That is the key. But I think people off the field at the club who never get any credit, and no one ever sees them, with all due respect, they deserve all the credit. And they definitely deserve the outcome that we all very much want. So I think from a growth perspective, we're in a good position. There's more to come. Fan engagement's pretty critical to the way we run the club, and transparency. You know, over the last couple of years, we've opened up our accounts, our books. Everyone knows where we are. There's nothing to hide at the football club. We're in the top 10 for fan engagement in England. We were in the bottom 6 2 years ago. And we're looking to appoint people in roles this summer to make us better, because we think our matchday experience could be better, and we've been told that by the Football League, and we want to get to gold standards when people come to the ground and enjoy match days, and leave no stone unturned there as well. And just generally, when you've got the big crowds that we've got, we want to make sure we maximise everything out of it and make sure that the experience someone has when they come through the door is unforgettable. There has been some really good moments this season. Huge crowds, massive results, wonderful late goals, drama filled left, right and centre. But it can't just be what's on the pitch. There are many people that need to experience things off it, and they create their memories. So we're always working towards that stuff.
One thing you mentioned there was new products, namely kits at this time of the season. It's something that's a big focus. What can you tell us about when we might be able to see them, and what they might look like ahead of the new season? Yeah,
I'm reliably informed they're due into us in the next 2 or 3 weeks, which means we'll be turning them round for late June, July, I understand. Which kit comes first, we'll see. They're all pretty good in my opinion, but I'm obviously massively biased. And of course they all carry our colours, which is the way we go about it. So they're good, they're unique, as any claret and amber set of kits would be. But you know, the guys at Macron have done an unbelievable job with us again. Awesome. One of the best things for me that has happened at the club in recent years off the field is that kit partnership. We're treated, you know, like any top end club in Serie A, let alone in League Two in England. So they put full focus into it. Our retail department has grown by about £300,000 in one season. And I see no ceiling to that. Again, crucial for what we want to do on the field to have that additional revenue, and Macron understood that when we met them. We understand that, and to be quite honest with you, as things stand, we're currently looking at extending that deal further already. So there's plenty of things on the table with Macron and the guys who are running the retail departments.
On to pre-season, you alluded earlier to overseas tours, of course, heading out to Spain this summer and playing CD Eldense in a friendly in July. How exciting is that really, and in terms of a bit of a first for the club, heading out there after a 5-day training camp last year, and you know, being able to go out there, fans coming along with us, packages on sale, and being a part of that experience, as we mentioned, for a bit of a first for the club. How exciting is that for you, and how much is the potential there as a sort of area of growth over the years coming?
Well, I mean, commercially, the guys always tell me that there's no more to get, you know, and there is very little more to get. But you know, we listen to supporter feedback ultimately. You know, that we went to Spain last year. It was a very positive camp for us. The players were fit when they came back. We learned a lot about the squad, and it was good for the group. And if anything, there was some feedback that they would have liked to have been there too, and they would have liked to have seen a game. So we took that on board. We went and found an opponent, and we have a really strong opponent that are a really good club. They're really keen to players, and of course it comes off the back of the training camp. From a growth perspective, you know, we're looking at can we create a sort of a smaller scale overseas tour kind of income stream. Again, why? Well, to develop our squad further and improve our sustainability as a football club, which is what everybody would strive to do. You know, we'd like this to be the first in a chapter of a number of games in the coming summers that are really unique and memorable. There's no countries off the table. We have all kinds of ideas, but we've got to start somewhere. So we're returning to Spain, where we felt comfortable last season in terms of our preparations and the weather and what was there for the players to do. And then we're going to finish it off with a game before we get back to England.
That support as well has obviously been so important throughout the season, broken attendance records again and done so much at home and away really, which I guess has probably been pretty indicative of the potential that you talk about if we can get up into League One and imagine what it'd be like further. Obviously 15,000, close to 15,000 season tickets sold ahead of next season again, and it's looking like hopefully we're going to be able to enjoy many more days like we've experienced, as you mentioned, at home and really take the fans on a journey with us again next season.
Well, I think the supporters deserve all the credit. You know, I mean, it's them we truly feel the most sorry for, because we wanted to deliver it for Bradford as a city and the people that have stuck with the club through thick and thin. You know, in the last few years, it hasn't always been. It's been nowhere near sunshine and rainbows. I'm well aware of that. And you know, this year just felt like the year where we could give that back, and that will have to be next year. Our home form wasn't good enough. It was improved, of course, on the previous 2 seasons, but we need to improve it further. Our home games are massive games, huge games. Every game's huge here, and it's important that we continue to recruit players who can handle the fact that every game at home is a massive game. It's a massive game for us, and it's an even bigger game for the opponents. We've seen countless teams come here this year and take a point and celebrate like they've won a playoff final. That can't happen next season. If we can convert half of the draws to wins, we would have been walking into League One this season. It's that close. So, you know, the support of the crowd is massive for us. Without the kind of backing we have, you don't have the budget, the competition on the pitch, you don't have the manager, and you don't have the ability to even have a go at League One. And with the envy of every club in the division, you know, commercially, what that does for us, having so many supporters in the stadium, you know, it's crucial, because I would say 60-70% of our partners buy in because of what we are. You know, what we've got, what other clubs don't have, the crowd, the interest. You know, we bucked the trend. You know, we've this season, something I thought I'd never see here, with all due respect to the division we're in, is the fact that you're breaking a league record crowd in the 4th division that was set 40 years ago. You know, it's even further back than that. It's the highest possible crowd we can have in this stadium. If you look at pre-1986 with the changes to capacities, and to break that when you look up against Premier League records and Championship records and even League One records for a league match is unreal. And we're highest ever playoff crowd. That, you know, the backing of the supporters has never changed this season, and for that alone, you know, we are absolutely determined to get the job done so we can all move on from this division.
One key thing for you over the past few years, it seems, and as you've mentioned earlier as well with fan engagement and stuff like that, is the dialogue, the open communication with the supporters. How does that continue to grow? We've obviously got things like regular meetings with the supporters board and keeping that communication line open, things like fans forums and stuff like that. How important is that for you?
Well, I think supporters need to know where you are as much of the time as possible, and where you can justify or converse about decisions that have been made, do it. I mean, we're a club that are good. I think we're pretty good on the survey front. You know, we surveyed our rebrand. Some clubs wouldn't have done that. We've recently done the loyalty point scheme, and we're taking feedback from that, and there may be some adjustments off the back of it. Certainly listen to everything that's been said. There was about 1,900 responses, so a good sample of people. The supporters board has gone through a big transition here. It's changing the way it looks. A lot more independent voices on there, different supporters, different ages, different backgrounds. It's really important that people use that as a channel, because we sit with them every month, and they're bringing more and more questions to the table that will always be answered. And equally, from our perspective, you know, nothing would change in terms of sharing financial performance, reasons for players staying and going. I've never shied away from what needs to be dealt with or said, and any Bradford City supporter who drops me an email or knocks on the door, my office is always open, providing I'm in it. So I have no issues with that, and what we do is we're not experts in fan engagement and transparency. You know, the club's never been an expert at it. I don't think anyone is. So we listen to people. You know, we go and ask people how they do things, ask other clubs who are doing really well at it what they did, and what have they changed to make things more accessible and improve dialogue, and just take that on board. You know, we're not the smartest club in the world. We never will be, and then continue to add to our staff. You know, we want to have. We'd like to get to a point where we've got a fan engagement department, you know, supporter liaison officers in full-time roles. It requires cash, and that's why we're trying to generate more of it, so we can do things in the best way possible.
Finally, just before we wrap up, the academy, of course, over the past few years, another area of the business that seems to grow and develop upon each year. Another great year of progress for the academy, but also a very difficult year for the academy as well, with the passing of our much loved academy manager Neil Matthews. I think everybody who knew him and worked with him, nothing needs to be said really as far as we're concerned. But for you, how much will he be missed, both in terms of personal level and professional level? What can you say about Neil?
No, there's no words that you can say about Neil that do him justice. I mean, the guy was a legend of this football club, in my opinion. You know, people talk about legends. That guy did so much for so many people that you never see. He started his careers of players who, in my opinion, could go on and play for England. You know, when I first met Neil, we discussed our strategy and how we were going to be real clear on what we'd do with the academy. We got straight on with it. He delivered absolute excellence. He leaves a huge hole professionally, and on a personal note, what a person not to have in your organisation. You know, there's not a day where you would ever envisage having to bring a new academy manager to Bradford City. That was never part of the plan. You know, my thoughts are with his wife and his children and the family around him. But you know, we will run Bradford City's academy and his legacy. You know, his legacy will live on, and I know what he wanted us to do with it. He would have wanted the standards to remain through the roof, but the trend. We have the best Category 3 category in English football, Category 3 academy in English football, bar none. Our player trading is on a level that most clubs can't even imagine. That's down to Neil Matthews, and it would be absolutely shocking of us to let that slide away, and we won't. We've got obviously plans in place now, sadly, to re-recruit in that role, and we'll walk forward with it, and it'll be in Neil's honour. You know, the Player of the Year awards for the academy will be named after Neil. We're looking at ways we can honour him in terms of matches and things like that, but yeah, look, it's been a really difficult period for a lot of people, not more so his family. And I thought what was nice, if we're trying to look at the bigger picture of that, was I thought the way he was remembered before the Carlisle game live on Sky. Neil would hate that, which you know, me and his wife were talked about how he would hate all that attention, but what a fitting moment in front of 20,000 people to be live on Sky and minutes applause. I thought was fantastic, and you know, we miss him.